paradigm shift. And so, okay, so what do you guys got going on? What do you guys need help with right now?
So earlier on, probably about a week and a half ago, Maddie actually discovered creation levels, and we've been talking about that as a team a lot. And that might be something to really work with. What do you guys think? Is there anything else maybe pertinent, or is that something that we maybe could touch base on? What do you guys think?
So I just want to clarify something. Creation level. So I remember working with you guys a while back, and from what I'm thinking that you're talking about when there's an inverse level. It hasn't been created yet, but it creates the criteria. Therefore, it would be creating that level in the future. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, just possibly touch a little bit of base on that.
Yeah, more or less. I think. Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so what do you guys got for me? Maybe pull up a screen share example, ask questions.
I mean, if anybody wants to come up with anything else, it's perfectly fine too. By the way, that was just one thought.
Matt, I think since you're kind of the one who touched base on this, your screen, yeah. Sorry, my chart. I opened TradingView today and it completely reset like my entire chart. Everything's gone, so I'm just.
Yeah, me too.
Get it back on.
Everything's
Yeah.
gone.
I don't really have any questions to that. I don't know what Jacob wants to. Yeah, like.
Well, okay. I mean, if it's not creation levels, is there something else we want to touch base on? Because I mean, that was just something I popped into my top of my head, guys. But if there's something else we want to have an understanding on, by all means, he's here. Let's utilize it.
Yeah, I haven't been able to work with you guys this week, so anything you guys are, well, maybe I did earlier in the week actually. I don't even remember. I do so much. But anyways, there's maybe something else you guys are struggling with, or if there's anything that you guys need clarity on or help, yeah. If not, we can always move to another team too. Like there's lots of teams that definitely need help on lots of things. So also one thing I do like to do, what I did with Enigma yesterday, is I just kind of watch them chart and I just take a look at what they're doing and see where I can find flaws too. That's another one that I really like doing.
Yeah. Well, okay, Cotton. I mean, where we just got, Joe Mixer, we are still learning a whole lot of stuff. So, if there's another team or think that you might want to touch base with, that's okay, because we're still working and building on some things. So maybe we haven't fine-tuned some certain things just yet. I was just kind of volunteering because, me, I get out there in the field.
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay, so I'll jump out of here, and then we'll see if there's another team that wants to have some time here. Okay, let's go back to mentorship and see. Yeah, at the end, any of the other 4 teams, if you guys want to have any kind of help with anything, let me know. Otherwise, we'll go into open Q&A. All right, there's Nuke and Jude. I knew it. Those two are going to fight for it. Let's see who types it out first. Okay, I'll jump in with Phoenix. Hey, guys.
Oh, hey. Let me just mute the stream.
Well, yeah, I mean, do the same.
The stream is behind.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. It's like 30-second delay.
Nice.
So much better.
Cool. Maybe I'll put up
Also, while I have you guys, I'd like to see you guys talk about the move a bit. I know we had talked about it earlier in the week, but I kind of want to see where your follow-up was. I did some work with Enigma yesterday that maybe I should share with you guys as well. But we'll see where you guys are at first. So let's see what you got for me.
So we actually kind of went away and then used the replayer tool to dissect kind of past ranges. So for maybe people in mentorship who that obviously don't know, me and Cotton and the team looked through kind of trails. We were struggling with like kind of time frame trails and picking up on what your next targets might be based on kind of what the trail's doing. So my chart's actually completely clean. It'd be interesting, yeah, to go through. So we were like dissecting this range, weren't we? And noticing very much that there was this hourly trail that was kind of happening, starting from here. And this is before this happened, so we were looking through here, weren't we?
Yeah, so this
and
is
kind
what
of-
this is what we had looked through, which is funny because actually Enigma, we looked through this exact same thing yesterday. So funny that
Uh-huh.
had happened. Yep.
Yeah. So there can sometimes still be a little bit of confusion about kind of with regards to this, how old you can use levels to still remain as kind of the next point in the trail. So if something had developed like quite far out, you know, if something wasn't hit in a trail um, quite previously to what's happening now, can you like how you could still use that? This isn't a good example for that because this is almost seems quite obviously, you know, very clear laddering
Yep.
slowly up here. But there are examples in other cases of that. But yeah, maybe we should get to that in a bit. But what did you say you wanted us to do? Kind of
Well, did
dice.
you have first off? Do you have any questions? You're talking about that. Do you have any questions about it?
If I could find an example, would be good. Not sure if how quickly I'll be able to find an example. It takes a while to kind of get a good example.
One thing kind of along with that, and I noticed someone in the live mentorship asked a question yesterday about it, but we had noticed like in instances where we're looking in ranges for like combination levels and things like that, we'll find like the proper combo levels and then notice that sometimes it will the move will go past the combination levels and hit a like a reverse level that was previous in time. So just a little bit of clarification on like even though we properly did the combination levels moving forward in time, never back, just noticing that somewhere earlier in the range that a reverse level was hit. Is that because it is a reverse level? Or were we just not properly stepping out the combination levels? I mean, because I'm pretty positive we were. Yeah.
So yeah, without an example, I can't answer that because you're asking like a very defined question. It's always going to depend on the move. So what's the one biggest takeaway from when we talked? What was the one biggest takeaway that I gave you guys?
Let the move define itself for you and not try to put the move into a box. And
There you go. Bingo. Exactly. Let the move tell you what's happening. So to answer that question with reverse levels, if they'll be used, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Depends on the move. So that without an example, that's impossible to dissect and give you an answer. So if you have an example with a reverse level here, let's look at it. Otherwise, yeah, like we really need an example to work with. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of, you know, kind of if and scenarios or a bunch of scenarios
totally.
that may not make sense to what you're thinking. So I might give you the wrong answer.
100%. I so in the chat I said maybe some questions about reverse levels and profit caps.
Sure.
I think quickly first thing to say is you kind of said going back to this. I mean, this to me would be clear that it kind of broke the hourly kind of laddering at this kind of point here, and then because these were all tested, then it went to test something maybe higher time frame, or something like that, and or to try and create something on a higher time frame. Because I know when you just joined, you said maybe talk a bit about this. I would assume that's kind of what's happened here, but I haven't done the full work on it to have a look.
Okay. So why don't you do the work? This is going to be, Enigma's going to be a little tuned out of this one because we did this. I did this yesterday with Enigma, but let's see where you get to with this move, finding out what it hit on the top, what would have broke the move, what happened. Yeah, show me what you think happened here.
Okay.
You guys can
Start on
talk through it
highest
as a
time
team.
frame.
Just do your team thing, and then we'll see where we can get to.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, it's clear that this is bounced off kind of daily, or maybe something inside of this wick on the daily here, and then it's come up. And I would say kind of the profit cap then for this would be this daily up here, but it hasn't reached up there, and now it's kind of trying to create this this daily inverse here. But it looks like it failed to come up there and tested the backside of this 4 hour
Okay.
in here. And so this would make me feel like the profit cap is then going to be a 4 hour somewhere inside of here, where you could find like the untested burst in this range. But kind of what happened up here at the point of failure, I mean, we did all this kind of laddering through here yesterday on the 1 hours, or the day before, whenever it was, and looking at some really interesting points, like how this can still, even though there's kind of this stuff that happens here, you can still come back and test this in here.
Just
Which
so I
was
make sure
like
you
so
understand this,
eye-opening.
tell me why that candle can test that.
This one,
Yeah.
because it is the next in the train that's untested.
So show me all of your tests. So count them out for me. Show me on your screen and count them.
Okay, so this one happened out here, which was prior to this. This one happened, I believe it would be kind of. Is it
Nope.
this one?
So
Well,
that's wrong.
we go to this one.
Nope. Okay. So you got that stuff wrong. So that's where we'll stop you there. Anyways, keep going with the next stuff. Any other members want to chime in there for Phoenix with a different explanation of the levels being tested here?
I guess the first thing I would quickly point out is kind of what Jude said a little bit as well. How he said that after all the levels have kind of been tested, it would go to something that would hold it, which could be like an origin creation at the bottom, which is like the last moment, which could be the 10 out Templary. So maybe because I've got a 15-minute on the bottom side, which had its first touch, which that could have been what it went after when it broke its ladder, or if it broke its trail. So I guess when it touches the 15-minute, or creates the 15-minute origin, let's say, then it develops a new trail maybe.
Nope. Jesse, care to take a crack? Or Rob? Jesse or Rob, care to take a crack at this?
Yes, sorry, my mic is muted.
worries.
Yeah, just trying to recall like what we spoke on the other night about, because I think in this instance we're speaking primarily just about like the hourly trail, and looking to see what has been tested. So
I just want to know where the first test, second test, third tests are, and fourth test. So just those points.
Yeah. So the first test, in my opinion, would be the long wick down of the 1 hour, because in that moment you're almost testing like all those hourly distributions are basically the same price.
So you're saying that's the first test on the hourly?
Yes.
Okay, correct. What's the second test?
The second test is going to be the kind of so it'd be 2 distribution candles after the long one down, because then you're testing kind of the level, the combination level that we had spoke on, as well as the 1 hour that was from back. Is it
the one that Jude's hovering over right now? Those 2 back-to-back ones? No, that's not the second test. Okay. Rob, do you know where the second test is?
Just give me a minute. I'm trying to think, because everybody said valid points, and I'm just trying to.
Is the second test the accumulation candle?
It's this one. It's this accumulation candle on here, no?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because that was another crazy like eye-opening thing, is that can also count as a test, whereas before we were looking at this as kind of one test, but you can have like it's ladders there, kind of 2 tests.
Those are your first 2 tests. So where's your third test on this?
Here.
Nope. Why can't it be that?
Because it's tested both.
That happened prior to
tested
this.
The range.
You're going backwards in time. It can't. You can't be testing something backwards. So what candle are you saying is testing? Yeah, you just went backwards with your mouse in time. So how could that be possible? So you would test, the first test would happen, hover over the blue candle that tests the first test.
This one.
Yep. So a timestamp is at the 22nd, 1400. So you'd have to go back in time. So go to the one that you just said was a third test.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Go to the
this.
candles that it's testing. This is happening 4 hours in the past. So how could that be possible? That 4 hours in the past, the third test would happen, right?
Mhm.
So it can't be that one.
Yeah.
So which
So
one would
it's
be the
here.
third test then if it can't be that one?
This in here, the combination in here.
Yep. Well, where is it testing?
So it's testing the backside body, so kind of the backside candle, or it's a combination inside of the front here. But that
So
tests
it's
the
100% a
entirety of these
combination
two.
level, but where on the chart is that third test?
Oh, here.
Yep. So show us the combination level. So find the combination level.
I believe it's a 15-minute reverse.
Like this 15 in here, the body
Yep.
of it.
It can be the wick or the body. It doesn't matter here. It's all almost all the same. There's your third test. Yep. Go back to your hourly. Now, where would your fourth test be?
Interesting. So yeah, I can't go back in time, so I can't go and test this. So I would be here. Where did this test? Maybe there was some sort of combination in this wick that tests it here.
Could be. Well, that's cleared up, so that's good. You guys have that, so we kind of don't need to work further with that. But keep working with your chart here. Keep working with your chart. So I just wanted to clear that up because I saw instantly that was kind of something that was wrong right away. So that's your first, second, third test. Remember, they have to happen in sequence. They have to happen after each other in time. They can still test events from the previous parts of the chart as long as they're doing it in the proper sequence, right?
Yeah.
Say, okay,
That makes
so
so much sense.
yep, because you can't, yeah. So whenever you create these trails, your sequential testing has to happen after like the first, the second, the third test. Like you can't just start trailing back behind where once that first test hits, the test can only exist after that. So first, second, third, they can only happen after that. So that should instantly clear up a huge part of where you guys are looking to create these trails. Just by understanding
100%.
that it can only happen after that first test, the second test can happen. And after the second test, only after that can the third test happen, and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge.
So that should help clear up one big piece for you guys, just to make it so you're not looking in the wrong spot for the test, and you're kind of it makes it very simple to follow, because then you really have to just, like, if you hover over the base point of your first level, Jude.
This.
Yep, and then all you have to do is track your mouse straight to the right to the test. Yep, and at that point, you can only test after that, right? So then you would just go up to your next point. So your next test would happen somewhere on the previous, the information before your first candle, but it can only happen after your first candle. So the information can be generated. The spots where it can be tested are generated before the first candle, but can only test after the second candle. So once this test, then you would say, okay, everything before this moment can't be a third test. So you would never look for your third test anywhere else before this, right? Like you couldn't create it like how you did before.
One quick question on that then. Why wouldn't you count this as a test of this?
Oh, you can. That's perfectly fine. You can. It just doesn't give you the information you need to create an hourly trail. That's counted as tested. Doesn't mean it can't test it 5, can test it 10 times for all it cares.
Right. But you wouldn't then be like, okay, well, this counts as a test, so then you follow your trail from here. But I
You
guess isn't
you definitely can. You definitely can. Like if you go and look at your, like if you take your replayer tool, you'll see where the other ones get tested. Like you can just move your second point. You can just move it to the top of that second hourly candle.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So move that base point of that second one. Yep. Move it 2 candles to the right, or 3 candles. Yep. So yeah, you would have had your hourly trail perfectly set here. Yep. And then your third test would have happened there too. But then again, it goes and just resets that cycle.
Yeah. When that happens, it resets it. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Does the test of that reset it? So then you're not looking at that. You're looking at that because that's the most recent test.
Yep.
Ah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Wow.
Interesting. So are there instances where there's, like, I don't want to say deviation, but deviation on skipping like hourly levels previous and then testing like a next hourly level, would that invalidate the trail?
So the term deviation is kind of a segue term. Like a hold level, for example, is something specific on our chart. Like we mark hold levels and we say, okay, this is something that's either a 1 or 0 on the chart. It's either true or false. Deviation is more along the lines of, it's a bridge term to open people's minds to like the deeper stuff that comes, which we're going to kind of get into in this lesson a little bit. But we don't look at deviation on chart and say it deviated, yes, therefore result is X. You would be missing what it deviated off of. While deviation may be true, you would be missing what it deviated off of. So you wouldn't know what it hit, and you wouldn't know what your target is if your kind of end synapsis or your end judgment was just, oh, it deviated. Okay, great, that deviated, so it means it's going in the other direction. But then where do you know where your target is? Because you don't know what it deviated off of. So the term deviation is useless. It's just a bridge term to open people's minds to the fact that, you know, in Butterfly Effect 2, we start going over some deeper things where we look at invalidation. So I think you guys already know this, but just to make sure you guys understand, deviation is not something we mark or talk about on our charts. We can say it deviated, but it has zero value other than to know that we should understand that if it deviated, we need to know what it deviated off of so we can know what it goes after next.
Yeah, because you don't know the why behind it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great.
So continue working with your charts. Like, why did this thing dump, Jude? And guys, Phoenix, all Phoenix actually, not just Jude. Why did this thing dump? You guys have a level at 36,118. What did it hit? Why did it dump?
Anyone fancy giving that a go?
Yeah, just kind of briefly looking here, when on the initial kind of dump down from like the 22nd, pretty much came immediately to kind of the greedier front side levels of that range. Tried to definitely held that, kind of had to bounce back up, and just because we had such a strong reaction off of the stronger level, like that 4-hour candle.
The one that Jude's hovering over?
Sorry, I'm looking at my charts. Let me go back to.
It's okay. If you want to toss up your screen share, we can watch yours too.
That one, yeah, okay.
So yeah, if you want to toss up your screen share, Jesse, if you're doing it too, that'll make it easy. Then I can jump back and forth.
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Because there was such a reaction, failed to get any sort of 4-hour hard close over this.
So why the blue candle?
Well, I guess because it's the same level as.
So you're just marking it, just okay.
Here.
So you're just marking it because it's in and within the same price.
Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially.
So is there a combination level you're targeting here, or is it just the body of the? Because you're kind of in between two things. You're in between the backside and you're in between the front side here.
Yeah, I guess I definitely need to dig down further into here to look at what exactly I should not have done the replayer.
Does like a previous origin that existed have any influence on? Like, can an origin that's obviously broke out and come back underneath, can that go and test that again? Because that's like at the top of that particular range.
Yeah, if it's a point that broke out the chart, yep. Whatever breaks out the chart can hold it down in the future. Absolutely.
I think there was a 5-minute that lines it up quite nicely. Maybe, or even there could be like the 5-minute trail from when it dumps. Like,
do you want to toss on your screen share, Harrison, so we can see?
Yeah.
I think it's a 15-minute.
15, yeah.
Yep.
Are you watching?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So there was obviously the 5-minute origin that broke this range here. Obviously, like Rob just said, it was a 15 as well. And then obviously it's come back down underneath the range. So as it's broke down underneath this range, this is like, you could class this as entering this range here. So then that could be stopping it from. Okay, I'm explaining that really poorly.
So I think I may be able to kind of clarify what and we've definitely had this question for a bit. So on an instance where you're coming back for a retest of an origin breakout, the significance of retesting a topside origin when you're coming from the bottom side, or retesting a bottom side origin when you're coming from the top side. So like in this instance that Harrison is showing here, the like in the moment that was the origin that broke out the move,
Yep.
kind of failed to hold it up in the future on the initial retest. Is there something to be said about retesting the top origin of that range that it was attacking versus retesting an origin that would have been created on the bottom of that range? If that makes any sense.
So remember in the mentorship replays where I said whatever breaks a chart out is also what'll hold it down? It's okay if you guys don't remember. There's a lot of good stuff to go over in mentorship. But anyways, in the mentorship replays, I said whatever breaks up the move, it can also hold it down. So whatever breaks above is what it will test to hold it down as well. So I think your first step here is to identify what broke out this move on the left side of your chart.
And it would have been.
So what is it? Is it a 5 or a 15? I'm not. From what I know, it's a 5.
I think it's a 5.
But I'm not sure. It could also be a 15.
There is a 15 there, it looks like.
Yeah, it is a 15.
Could be hard closed. Is the 5 earlier back?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the 5 is the original.
It's probably the 5 then. Yeah.
Yep, it's the 5. 5 happens before the 15. Yep.
So you come back and test that.
Which I get to stop you guys there. This is critical that you understand what's breaking it out, because if you had made that mistake 5 to 15, we're going to see shortly how much of a difference that would have made. So just you have to identify the right piece, because if you identified this as an hour or a 15 and you misidentified what actually caused the breakout, like the accuracy is so critical here. So you've got what has a breakout on the left side of the chart to break you up into your upper range. And that's the point that we say that if you have something that can hold the chart down, it's also what can, or break it up, it's also what'll hold it down, right? Like we go over that a few times in mentorship. So that's critical to know what it is. So you guys say it's the 5 or the 15?
5.
Yeah.
5.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the 5. So the 5 held it down. So what does that tell us about this move?
We can't get back above the point at which we kind of broke initially. So we're retesting that, and we're staying below the range and the price that we had recently kind of achieved or accomplished. So now we're kind of stopped below there.
So we're breaking down. It's almost as if it, that's correct. So what I want you to do, I think I'm watching Harrison's screen. Harrison, I want you to cut your replay tool off where you test that 5.
So from here to here?
Just the test of the candle in the current part of the move. Yep. That's fine. Right there is good. So now walk me through what's next.
2 seconds, I've got background noise, sorry.
Sure. I can switch to Jude as well. Jude, if you have the same information, I'll do yours.
Yep.
Do the same thing, Jude. Mark it, cut the replayer tool off there.
Any particular time frame you want me on?
That's perfect. You go to the 5, that's fine, or the 15. It doesn't matter. It's all really irrelevant here. So you just hit that 5. What's next?
So we've hit the 5. What's next? If we can't gain that, we've clearly seen quite a good rejection off of that.
Anybody can chime in, of course.
Just an initial thought, could that mean that, like, as we question profit caps, could that mean it could target a potential origin on the bottom side straight away?
Which origin, though?
The potential creation of an origin. What was that to?
If there was a 5-minute on the bottom as target?
Yeah.
A 5-minute what?
Origin.
So you're saying that would be target?
I'm kind of asking.
Okay.
Yeah. Throw away.
Yeah. So whatever happens on one side of the chart mirrors to the other side as well. Remember that. Always remember what these things happen in mirrors. So if it had just tested a 5-minute on the top side, you think that it would test a 5-minute on the bottom side, is
Mhm.
kind of what you're
Yeah.
alluding to, right, Jesse?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, Kate, well, find
Is
your
there
5-minute
one?
origin level. I think Jude has one marked. If that's the right one, well, I
No.
guess we'll see.
I think we're talking about one kind of down here, like this or something. There might be one earlier.
Yeah,
Doesn't
I have
look like it.
I
Looks
have
like
kind of the
that's
earliest one. Is it 29654?
yeah,
Yep.
could be
Okay.
there. So should we let this play and see if it hits that? I guess that is that
Before we
your
hit play, anybody else have anything they want to add?
Yeah,
Mm.
I would just be like in the moment. The moment this kind of retested that initial 5-minute origin and broke it out. I mean, just looking for shields, not necessarily like that you're in the trade, but just looking to develop hold levels that's going to keep you down and move you away from this retest. But I mean, that's just obvious.
Okay.
Oh,
Um,
I
Is
would
it?
also go to come on.
No, it's okay. I'll speak after you. Go ahead.
If sure. I was just gonna say, is it like completed a profit cap here too? Because you kind of hit the 4 hour here, and then you've hit like a 4 hour backside here. You could say now you're gonna go to, if you was kind of like D-cycle time frames, you could go to like an hourly here or something as well. And if that 5 minute is kind of in confluence with that, then I'd have like strong
You can
confidence
use
to take
profit
that.
caps. You can use profit caps. It doesn't mean there's always a smart reason to it doesn't mean there's always a smart reason to do it. I think you have to justify it. Like you're just, so what you've just said is accurate, but you're just taking the end results. So
Mm.
in theory, yes, but you're kind of taking this 5-minute and wrapping it into the kind of the end point of the moves, right? Like there's a lot that could happen before those two things. You know, there's things that could change that profit cap. You could develop a daily. You could break a trend if you hold long enough. So you've kind of defined the last step, which wouldn't be false. It's just I think there's a lot to think about before we get to that point.
Mm.
So what you're saying is true. Yeah, you're true. It's just, oh yeah, yeah, you're cooking a meal. You're cooking a hamburger, and you just like buttered your pan and then put the cheese on the bread without doing anything else. You didn't cook your meat. You didn't, you know what I mean? Like you've just done the very first and last thing by saying profit cap, which isn't wrong. It's not that those things aren't needing to be done, but there's a lot that could happen before that.
Being kind of obviously creating trends to support this move down, as well as kind of shields higher time frame. You want to see like obviously you want to get 5-minute shields here, and then you develop your higher time frame shields and
Yeah, like
see this
Jesse had
development.
something good. He said that you'd go after a 5-minute origin level on the bottom because you hit a 5-minute origin on the top. So that is correct. You will hit a 5-minute origin. But again, you guys have skipped over a large part of this chart by going right to the bottom of that range. So I'll give you that hint.
Can I have a crack at it?
Sure.
What broke the move? If you take a look at my screen, what I don't know, I'm going to put it on a higher time frame. So this is the 5-minute origin here that
Yep.
held the move down. Whatever broke it up here, which is a 5-minute origin here, is that the target? So it goes from here to here, and then obviously it hit a 4-hour reverse level, then laddered above this trend, created daily origin. That's why it's kind of compressed here, and whether or not it's going to break out is a matter of time to target up in this region.
Could be. Could
Okay.
be. Yep. This is another great point. It's not exactly what we're doing right now in this moment, but it is
Sorry,
another great point. Yep, absolutely.
is this correct that it, like, if it pretty much the move that broke this out holds it down here, and the target profit cap would be from here to this origin, which is the 5-minute, which broke this out.
So if these were 1-minute candles,
right?
or like 30-second candles, all of them, instead of 4-hour candles or whatever your hourly candles. This could be true, but there's just so much more that's happening in this move. So what you're saying, Rob, in theory is correct, because this would be the correct expectation given the chain of events that happened on top. But there is just so, like, by picking that 5-minute level and saying that that's target, you've ignored everything else that's happening, because there's so much more happening on this chart. So if they're 30-second candles, Rob, you're right, because it's just relevant to what else could have developed. Because in relationship to if these were like 30-second candles or 15-second candles, it's like, oh, a 5-minute move, that's so crazy. Like, that would be the biggest level that we could think of right now, given that we're looking at like 15 or 5-second or 30-second candles, or whatever the scenario. You guys are looking at a 5-minute origin with like multiple days in between. So using a 5-minute at, like, in theory could be correct, but again, you're just you're kind of ignoring all the other time frames, because there's so much else that's happening on higher time frames here.
I guess the most important thing initially in this, once you've hit this 5-minute origin, would then be to break that hourly trail that we were creating and marking out.
That's part of it. I think
That's
you
what's
should
kind of
simply
got us
start
here.
by looking for a 5-minute origin on the bottom, on the other side.
Yeah. Which we've got, I think, at 29654.
So you're skipping a large part of your chart. So why don't you just find the first 5-minute origin that you can find?
Is it the one I had marked before? The one that broke us out to get there in the first place.
Yep. So why skip this? If you hit a 5-minute origin on the top, this should be target, right? 5 to 5, very simple. So why would we use this 5-minute origin and not the one on the bottom?
Because it's the first one, like, in the chain, essentially.
And why is
you
that
have to-
important?
Because it's created first in time.
Yep.
No. Wait.
No, it's the next event in time, which you were getting to. But
yes.
But also, like, what else?
It's what the thing that caused you to get to this point.
But what else? This will be encapsulated by larger events. So if you were to say 29,654 was your first 5-minute target, if you were to say that, then you're ignoring everything else. You're saying, okay, the 15-minute events don't matter, the hourly events, the 4-hour events, those events don't matter. So you're completely ignoring what would encapsulate these events. So this is just simply a 5 to 5, but there's other things happening, larger time frames that are going on, right? So this is just quite simple, that by ignoring the 5-minute here and going to the one on the bottom, you're basically saying, like, the bigger time frames don't matter, which they matter more. So you're kind of in like a bit of a parallel there, right? So hit play, see if this level gets hit. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Pretty bang on. So what else is going on in this move now? So 5 to 5, now what?
It's developing higher time frame holds.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff going on here. This is a whole type of thing going on here. So, like, you guys now show me what would be next. So we've defined the 5 to 5, right? So this is great. It hit a 5-minute origin. We know that test somewhere deeper inside the 4-hour level. I'm not giving you any hints that it is a 4-hour level, so please don't take that as, oh, we need to look at the 4-hour level. I'm just stating what had happened. We hit the 5-minute origin on the top. We then we targeted the 5-minute origin on the bottom. What's next?
When you want to dictate whether this is going to come back down or back up, and to do that, I think we would usually use trends to do that. So we'd definitely mark trends. I mean,
okay, so stop there. You're already off to a bad procedural cue by going inside this 5-minute level here. You're already in the incorrect procedural queue to look for the information. Remember, never look at a range and define polarity or information before. Like, you have to have a different procedural queue. You have to let the move show you what's happening, not you trying to find levels inside of that move.
We'd zoom out and look at the higher time frames.
Yes.
And see what's developed.
Let the move show you what's happening, not finding ranges and putting polarity inside of it. By doing that, you're you're already breaking everything.
Mhm.
Yep, this is correct. That's the next thing you would do. You'd go higher time frame. So now what? Now what?
We could define, without doing too much work, kind of where you could go next.
So at this point, I would start looking at, yeah, you would define where you could go next. And you're looking at bigger theory now, right? You're looking at bigger theory to understand what the polarity inside those bigger theory points are. So
There's a big gap between here. I mean, I haven't checked my daily, but I did do that before, so I don't think. Yeah, you could definitely kind of come to this daily. Kind of mark your 4 hours on each side, see where this is going. Recognizing that we have come off of 4 hours, well, we might like respect 4 hours going forwards, and of course they're just important timepieces. Then to the hourly and see if we can kind of gain something like this. We want to look to see what we can gain on either side. Well, here you can see that you're creating 1 hour holds, which would indicate potentially you're continuing to move up.
So I will say your work on the 4 hour time frame is done. There's nothing else. Go back to that 4 hour time frame for a moment, please. There's nothing else that really needs to be done here. There's no real trends we can create off of this on the bottom side. There's nothing to hit on the top side. So your work is done on the 4 hour. There is nothing else to consider here. I think that's obvious. And I think that's always the first question you ask. You go to your highest time frame that you can have available. You look at your chart and you say, okay, is our work done here? Can we move to the next time frame down? To me, it's not like there's literally nothing else. There's one blue candle on the bottom. There's no other blue candles yet. There's nothing else. You couldn't draw trends. You couldn't draw levels. You've laddered off the bottom when you've defined the current one. This is very simple. There's nothing else to be done here. Maybe you could look for combination level. You could do that, but you have to do it on a smaller time frame. So maybe you could come back at the end and say, okay, well, maybe we need to also look for combination levels. But I can, in confidence, can say like your work on the 4 hours done here. There's no work to do, right? So you can go down to the next time frame now. So now you need to work here because obviously there's a very big difference here because the 4 hour, there's being the most legacy time frame there is like literally nothing to do, which is so obvious. This is very different. You've got a lot of up and down motion. You've got a lot of stuff happening. So there's, what I can tell you is there's a lot of work to be done here on the hourly. So now do your work on the hourly. Let's see how far you get. Give it a crack, Phoenix. Let's see how good you are.
So now I think we kind of continue on the kind of looking at the hourly trail that we were speaking on earlier. Kind of recheck in with that and see kind of where we're in on continuing to follow that hourly trail, keeping that in mind for, now that we've hit this moment where we're being held down by the 5-minute origin on top. We've been pretty clearly following this hourly trail up, so I think that's going to be kind of a defining, I shouldn't say I think, that'd be a defining like piece if you start breaking that hourly trail as a good indicator of failing the move.
Okay.
And this looks like it's untested. The next untested hourly in the move, unless you count this as a test actually, which I think you could. So consider this tested. If this kind of closed distribution here, you consider this tested, and then maybe move to one like up here. And then if this breaks here, it would be hard for me to define at which moment this breaks though, because I think like you could use the backside or the front side here. So if you use kind of like the greediest moment, it says when this breaks, you've kind of tested all of these. So you could kind of get to the 4 hour. I won't get ahead of myself by saying that, but I'm saying you could. If this closed in distribution 2, you'd be developing this hourly downtrend down here. And this looks like it could be creating I was going to say a range trend here.
And Robin Harrison, jump in anytime you have anything to add. And Gamma asked 4 hour trend on the bottom. Nope, because there's no separation between candles. Gamma, so you have to have kind of like a white candle in between two blue ones to have that trend there. On the 4 hour, we just have blue candles back to back only, and that's it.
Harrison, is this a range trend, would you say?
Let's have a look.
So it could be this range trend.
You could.
Here.
I think you could class it as one, but I don't know how. Yeah, I think that is one. Yeah.
So kind of
level that's broke its previous leg. come down to retest it, so you got your base and reach point. Yeah.
When these break, it's yeah. Do you
Yes,
guys think we've got everything on the hourly here? There could be some sort of origin here that aligns with the 5 minute. So then you've got this kind of. Is this a yeah? But it's tested here. Would you guys say this is an origin here? Test, 2 test. It's difficult when you got like a cluster of this to count it as 2 tests. I think you could call that an origin.
It is indeed an origin. Yep.
And so I'm really looking at the kind of these level breaks here. This range trend break is kind of symbolic of this whole kind of hourly train breaking, to be honest. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Looking specifically at that 1 hour range trend, like you kind of said, I don't know how much like importance to place on it, but in my mind, it's very interesting that now at kind of the top of this move, as we're being held down by something, created a 1 hour range trend. Yeah, it kind of with the fact that we're potentially starting to kind of lose our 1 hour trail at the same time.
I wonder if there's a moment where you could say, because this is the base point, if you kind of hard close these, then you're automatically looking for this to kind of fail you anyway. So
yeah,
I'd say our work's kind of done here on the
Nope.
hourly.
Not
I
done.
guess the thing to keep in mind as well is that we created that 1 hour origin, and it's hard closed it now, so that's also something to keep in mind.
Cotton says not done, so there's going to be.
There's something you guys missed that's really important here.
You've also got this hourly trend. Something else. I mean, the creation of this, if we can gain this, is going to be.
Nope.
What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I'm really kind of struggling to find anything else.
So the
that I
question
can.
is, sorry, the question is, why is it going to break down here? Or, sorry, could you repeat the question?
There is no question. It's just kind of charting this in the moment where we think kind of it would go next based on this. Like, say we don't even know that it goes down here. Like, we have hindsight to know that it does, but this could continue up. So what's giving us confidence to tell us that this is going to go down? I guess. At this moment, I wouldn't really be like. I mean, you've reached this origin, but were you going to say something, Harrison?
I was just going to say that you obviously would have to ladder off the hold level, so that is like the next thing to see if that would hold. Is the next test in the trail.
And I believe this is the next test in the trail. So we got to here tests here. So then we
just so everybody watching knows, that's a combination level that Jude is looking at. So it's actually a 15-minute level that just lines up with that body. So he's marking it there because he's staying on his hourly. But we worked with this the other day. There's a 15-minute combo level in there.
And then so using what we've learned today, which is pretty groundbreaking for us, the test, move forward from here to mark where you could.
I'll tell you what you're missing, and I'll see if you guys can find it. You're missing a floating level.
I mean, I can identify this as a floating level.
Why would that be a floating level?
Range trend. Because it's detached from kind of the how's the definition? I was like reciting the definitions. It's gone out of my head. It's essentially untouched, and is when it comes back to test. I mean, that's the criteria for the range trend, but it's not a valley, but it's away from the trend essentially, so it's kind of like on its own, like floating without any like trend making it.
Nope. Anybody else care to take a crack for the floating level?
Because the floating level is the hold level that breaks out the move from its previous leg.
Yeah. So what would you look for that?
So I
The
guess um,
the break of this.
yeah, that's very. I'm trying to think of anything more macro.
Harrison's in the right ballpark. He's not quite right, but he's in the right ballpark.
For which bit, the macro bit or the floating level bit?
Yeah, finding the floating, like why the floating level exists. You're in the right ballpark.
Okay.
But you're not correct.
So are we looking at it wrong? We could look to be creating a potential floating level on like where the reach point is for Jude's trend right there.
Nope.
No, I believe this is the floating level. It's not.
It is
It's a
not the
single
floating
candle.
level.
It is not.
Nope.
They're never like previous in a range. I noticed that about floating levels. Like they're always at the front.
So there's a very easy thing that we look at when defining a floating level. Breaking a ladder point, right? Remember when we talked about floating levels? In floating levels is when you kind of break above a range, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the ladder point is what you need to look at for the floating level.
This, right? Like once
Nope.
you break above here.
Nope.
So the ladder point would be the origin that was created. So that accumulation candle to the left of the origin on the hourly.
Yep.
That is the
That's
ladder
your
that you need
ladder
to get
point. So you
over.
have to break above that.
Mm.
So would you go?
So where is the floating, like when can we create a floating level?
You don't even necessarily have to hard close it, do you? So literally like here.
Yep. So that wick there can create the floating level. So if that's true, where is our floating level?
Oh.
Yep.
Is it going to be this reach point?
Yep.
On this trend. So you have to create it after you've broken.
Yep. So you break a ladder
range.
point, create a floating level.
Mm.
So you can delete that trend. You had the base point right because that's correct. So first off, mark the floating level for me now.
Delete
Good.
this. Sorry.
So that would have to be tested.
So that's a floating level. So what is a floating level going to do?
Create a range.
Gonna try to create a range trend.
Yep. So what would you need to do?
Okay.
Yep. You got the right base point. So now what?
I'm going to create a reach.
Yep. So just walk one candle at a time.
So yeah, you need the next accumulation candle.
Okay, right there.
At this moment, so long as that I did close accumulation. So then you would have this. And this would now be tested, I believe. But you need to hard close this anyway. But the hard closing of this would be symbolic of losing this trend and vice versa. Sorry, losing this level.
Yep.
Okay. So now we have the proper range trend.
So now you have a proper range trend because it has to hit a floating level first. So your work would now technically be done on the 1 hour. So what would you do next?
Go to the 15. And see what's happening here. If there's any early kind of indication signs of either of these trends breaking. And so we'd look at what's happening inside of here.
So now think back to the start, right? You had a 5-minute origin test on the top. You tested a 5-minute origin on the bottom. You went through your time frames. You found that there's a 1 hour floating level, right? So you found that floating level there. So now your queue of events is both 5 origins have been tested, and now you've created a 1 hour floating level on the bottom. Okay. So now what would be next?
Thinking about the principle of kind of moving down and forwards in time, would we kind of be looking at the 15-minute kind of from this point, because this is the most So I mean, we could do, you know, work on the 15 all through here and stuff, and see, you know, what kind of, you know, origins do we have and things like that. But it wouldn't make sense to do that. You'd be moving kind of down and forwards from this point now that we have that, to dissect any signals and data points that can direct us where this might move next.
Well, if you have a 1 hour floating level on the bottom, you're going to have to create something to keep moving the move up, right? So what would that be?
Like a test of that on the 1 hour.
Sorry, can you say that again? It's kind of quiet a little bit.
Sorry, like a test of that. I mean, if you have a floating level on the 1 hour at the bottom, we need to test that on the 1 hour too.
Yep. So if you've tested a floating level on the bottom of the 1 hour, if all things are equal, what should you do for a target up top?
Look for a floating level at the top.
Yep. So go back to your 1 hour.
Of course. I was getting too quick to go down to the 15. So where's our floating level here, guys? Can anyone spot one straight off the bat? Does it have to be a floating level, or can it just be?
So let's talk about how the floating level gets created first. So you guys tell me at what point you're looking at for the floating level on top. You show me first at what point that floating level can exist.
The front side hourly when that is tested.
No.
But is that a floating level? Because
what has to happen in order you to create a floating level?
Has to break its leg.
Has to break
break
its
the
leg.
range it was created on.
Has to test below its ladder point.
Okay. Yes.
Doesn't have to break its range. It has to test below the ladder point. So highlight the ladder point for me.
The ladder point, break below the ladder point here. Wait, let me change this. For this to, I find it so much easier doing them on this side, and my brain gets so like flipped and messed
Absolutely,
when I'm
yep.
on this side.
Yep, it is.
Break below the ladder point. That it was. I'm kind of going to stick to my guns here. It's this. You
Okay. Anybody else want to put any input in?
No.
You think it's this?
Is it the ladder point that's in the middle, which is the big leg?
It is, but why?
Because that's testing something from the past, which is holding the move up.
Well, I'm sure it might be testing something from the past. That's not the answer we're looking for, though. Why would we need to test this one?
Because there's a trend.
Nope.
It's the leg that brought you to that.
That's part of
hourly.
it, but not really the answer. Anybody in chat want to guess?
The answer to this is definitely going to help us, because yeah, we look very internal to create these floating points, and we wonder at which point you should stop looking external. You know, why isn't it like this?
No, it has to be this, because that's part of the range. So highlight the range for me with a square tool.
How do I get the
square tool is by your pen tool, I believe it is.
It's on
next one.
Rectangle.
So define the range for me.
That
looks correct, but the range, where does it start from?
The range, where does it start from? Well, I mean, it starts back here, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah,
but
that's a top point. Yeah, that's a top point. Where's the bottom point?
Point is it not here?
It's a little hard to see your bottom. Your top is good. So where you pick the pinpoint.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you've lined it up, but what are you lining it up to?
I've lined it up to the bottom of this accumulation, but I feel like it should be the distribution. Huh?
It should be the same candle on both sides there on the left.
I see.
So use the pinpoint that would do it accurately.
Here? No. What do you mean the pinpoint?
Well, your box, define your box to the pinpoint, just like you would a level.
Is this, no? Have I not done that? Kind of,
Which
this is
candle are
where it
you
starts.
attaching it to? Hover over it.
This
Nope,
one.
wrong.
It's the same candle as the top left of the box is on.
I see.
So use the
Yeah,
left
this one.
pinpoint.
This one.
Yep.
Oh, of
There's
course.
your range right there. So you have to ladder below it.
Oh, so it's not below this, it's below this.
You can have micro float levels if you wanted to. Like you can have micro floats inside of it on smaller time frames, but ultimately here on the hourly, this is what it is. So this is why you create a float. So with your pen tool, draw that for me so I know that you understand it. So where your square tool is, just go back to there. And it's the brush tool. Yep. So talk me through this.
So this has come up here and created this range in here off of this candle here.
Yes.
This being the top, this being the bottom. And that's because this hasn't hard closed. Otherwise you'd have a higher range up here. But because this is the kind of defining piece for this, everything exists forwards in time from here.
Yes. Correct so far. And I'll just add that because that could potentially create an origin, that's why we start that as the range, because that second test that goes over top of it could be creating an origin. Yes, it could. It's not there yet, but it could in the future. So okay, keep talking to me about the move. Keep going.
Yeah, that's crucial. So then for everything that exists inside of here is defined by the this or this.
Yep.
And the breakout of this range is defined by this or this.
Yep.
Whether you're going up or down. So to create a float inside of here, you could create them internally on a lower time frame, but if you were looking to create one on the hourly, because this is the hourly piece,
yep,
you would have to be breaking below here, and that doesn't necessarily mean a hard close. It can literally kind of just, if that was a wick,
you missed a step.
Okay.
The step is the ladder. Where is it laddering? Show me the ladder of this move.
Somewhere here, or like this one.
Yeah. So what do you have to break below in order to create the float here?
I mean, I would have said this.
That would be like a micro float, and where would be the bigger float?
It's the first ladder.
The first ladder, yes, which is not that. It's yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So where would that create? So you would have to go underneath this to create a float. So show me the candle that goes underneath it.
So we're going underneath this to create a float. The candle that goes underneath it is this one.
That's the candle. And where's the float level?
Here.
Yep.
Where's the yes.
That was correct. That was correct.
Yep.
So there's a floating level there, which can also, what else can you do? You can mark that, but what else could you do?
Look for combinations inside of that floating level.
Exactly. Where would you start that process?
On the 15.
Nope. Just mark the candle for me. Where would you start looking for a combination level?
Yeah.
You could start there. You could also start on the backside. So I wouldn't mark the top. I would just mark the backside. You could start on the backside, and you could start on the top of that wick. Now there's another floating level that we didn't talk about. Where's the other floating level in this? Inside of this range, there's another floating level on the other side of your chart. Where is that? So going up, not down.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Let me find it.
The one that broke the second ladder point. So it's the hour one, which looks like the reverse. It's not a reverse.
So the reverse is what it broke. Is that what you're saying, Rob?
No, what I'm saying is where where Jude has his circle on that 3 candle accumulation.
Yeah.
You said it has to break the next ladder point, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is right there. That's the second one. And then if you look, there's a accumulation candle. It broke that ladder point. Hence,
let's go to your screen, Rob.
Level.
So show us what you mean. I'm on your screen right now.
Okay. So you referenced that this was the range, correct?
Yep.
Ladder point,
Yep.
ladder point.
Yep.
So in order to create a float level, you have to break the next ladder point. Well, this is the second ladder point in the
Going the opposite direction.
this way, backwards, you
So
mean, or
going
forward?
up. So finding the opposing ladder point.
So mine was initially this because this broke a ladder here. So that was
So
my
so not finding a distribution ladder point, not finding an accumulation ladder point, because that's the one on his right side of his screen, and on the right side of your screen is a float level on an accumulation candle. Finding the float level on the distribution level. Where is it here?
Is it from that?
It's
Is
the
that
distribution candle before that leg.
yeah?
Do you understand
Which
what
one
I
are you
mean,
talking
Rob?
about, Harrison?
Like finding the
So-
float level that would be the distribution candle. So the other side of the range float level.
oh, you mean the distribution floating level
Yes.
in this area right here, this one, or it's either this one or this one.
Yeah,
Okay.
Harrison, that's the same one I have too. Thinking that maybe it.
Oh, hold on 1 second. It's not by any chance breaking a ladder point, you said.
So if Rob, if you were to find the floating level from the bottom upside, so think about how we had how we found the floating level with the accumulation candle. So then you would try and find the floating level with the distribution candle.
Correct. In this range.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay.
So the leg of the move would have been the start of the range on the left
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
And so do you know the
I'm getting a little bit confused. Maybe.
so do you know how the range was defined?
Yep, right here.
So the top of that candle there, so that would be the leg, I believe.
Yep.
For,
Harrison's onto it. Yep.
Which
so
would be here.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that's the floating level of this one, yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because the accumulation candles after that broke its leg.
Yep. Because it went above, not broke its leg, went above the ladder point.
Oh,
So you create a float.
I keep saying this, yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah.
what would be next then?
So the float level is created from that. So then.
So
from
now
the
what would
floating
you
level,
add to your
create
chart?
The range trend. So you would need to test that hold level or the floating level.
Your stream keeps saying pause for me for some reason.
Mine or Rob's?
The stream paused. You have your minimize the application.
So you see how if you go to Jude's chart, how he now has his range trend, you'd have two range trends in here that would be cycling. So when you test that float level, that's your first range, and it looks like he's hard closed it to the final part of this interior range trend on Jude's. I missed, but I think that's what he does. But that would have been correct anyways.
I think that's Jesse's.
Is this Jesse's that I'm looking at? Oh, am I looking at Jesse's? Yeah, Jesse had it. Sorry, Jesse had it. Yeah, Jesse's is correct.
Me and Jesse have the same one. So it'll be the final hold level of that test of that.
So let's see. Level. Let's go to Harrison, see if his is up. Because Harrison had it right. And then, so Harrison, mark the first range trend for me.
What, as in this one?
Yep.
So what
you have mark your floating level, the one we just talked about for me, so everybody can follow.
This is the floating level.
Yep. So mark it for me.
Yeah. You might cut out, I think.
Just want you mark it for me. Mark the floating level.
Like this one here.
Body of the candle. Right. Yeah. So you see how it breaks above ladder and test this as a float.
Yeah. So then it would be from there to there.
Yep.
Of course. How did I not see it?
Range trend. Range trend breaks. The move can no longer keep going up. The range trend breaks. It's trying to create a higher time frame. Now hard close adapt your interior range trend.
So can you only adapt floating like range trends if they are attacking the same floating level? Is that the only time you can adapt them on hard closes?
So the first thing, okay, sorry, say that again, Jesse.
Yeah, we're just trying to define like the classification of when you can adapt like range trends off floating levels. We had kind of thought that you weren't supposed to
Well,
adapt range trends.
it would likely just be a bigger time frame here.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you actually just hard close this one is representing if it can break that move, if the ladder point. So actually Control Z for 1 second for me. So this is defining if that float level can break the move. So if this trend breaks, you adapt the trend. This is defining if the higher time frame can continue the move up. But you see how it was created off the floating level?
Yes.
So now you can go back. So now you can see why this move broke, right? And now you can go back to the current part of the move,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And now look and now start working with your floating level on the current part of the move.
So this one here.
Mm-hmm. So you guys now know what defined that float, right? You now know where the floating level exists and what defined it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have your interior range trend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys kind of have your answer of knowing what to do. Well, at least a lot more pieces now anyways. So then what would be next? Are you done your work on the hourly now?
Yeah.
We need to define the range has changed now though. So because it's broken above that previous kind of hourly, and that's what's created the new hourly flow. And now we need to kind of
So
make
the
sure
range
we know
could
the
be now this one.
Mm-hmm. That's your range. Yep.
Yes.
You've got your interior range. So you know that your interior trend has to support this move going up.
Yeah.
You've got your range defined. You've got your interior component defined.
So it's exactly mirrored from the top. So it just has to break a ladder point to show that that's breaking down.
Yep. So what would be the next thing? If we were going to continue to move up, what would you look for?
For it to go above that point, the ladder point.
Yeah, that would be one thing. I think that would be a little too late. So what would show failure in the move? That would be the next question. What would have to happen? So now you have to think of this in terms of deviation and getting back into your original question. You've got the parameters of the move defined. What would deviate this? So if it has to follow a queue of events to be in succession, and that final queue could be breaking above that ladder point, and that could create a new float. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to create a floating level. It could just go straight up and have some crazy floating level down below somewhere. You have to think of, if this is going to keep moving up, what would stop that from moving up, which is where you're getting into your deviation question.
would it be that hourly candle accumulation, not that one, but the one before that one, this one. There's kind of more an internal range there. That's the next ladder point. On either side, you'd have kind of the ladder point. So, I mean, that would be quite late as well, but that would be an earlier signal before the greater range, so to say.
Well, I mean, I think at this point, you're done your, this is the question I always ask myself. Am I done my work on this hourly chart? I think at this point, you're done, because I think you're getting pretty interior into the range. So I think you need to move time frames down at this point. Because we don't have any, if you go back for a quick second, we don't really have any hold levels on the bottom side of the chart. We do, but it's underneath our interior range trend. Like if you were to develop a hold level at this point, the only hold level you could develop would be underneath. So like the bottom of these white candles inside your current range. Yeah, those are like the only hold levels, that one and the one to the right. Those are the only hold levels. There's nothing above. So there's no hourly holding us down.
You'd have to ladder above this next. And if it doesn't, then...
Well, that would be one. You'd have to ladder above that. Well, you just
Yeah.
have to not hard close below that, but at that point you're losing the trend anyway, so that's irrelevant because look at your trend. Your trend is a much more aggressive angle.
Yeah.
So there's nothing left to do on the hourly. There's no hold levels on the hourly that we have to test and break over. Nothing. So what could, in theory, hold this move down now?
Trend.
Trend would be one.
Now we have 15-minute holds to hold the move down.
Bingo. Right on, Jesse. You have 15-minute holds. So start working with holds and origins and start looking at what you need to move down. I'm going to take a 2-minute break, get a water because my throat's killing me. You guys keep working with this and I'll be back in a few minutes.
Cool.
So you got
Gon
the
has
potential on this
incredible
ball.
patience
Yeah.
working with us. Yeah, so do the trail of 15s. Yeah, maybe potentially creating that origin at the top.
Leave this stuff.
So you got that 15 body is very obvious. It's an inverse.
Yeah.
So mark that.
Which one? Sorry.
The
This one.
15. Yeah, we're kind of have to break, but I guess, and you're gonna have both sides as well. Kind of created that 15 hold at the bottom.
This one.
Yeah. And
so the next step could be to test the hold level.
Yeah, make sure we stay above that, and then go to test the next one.
Yeah.
And then try and break that. Is there any others that we're kind of missing that are super important? I think you could definitely gain other holds on the way. Like there's that one that stands alone. What about?
I guess the question is, could we create a 15-minute range trend on this?
That's what I was gonna say.
So
yeah.
maybe could this be the ladder point, and then you've got the distribution that brings it there,
and that
so then
breaks.
this could be creating the floating level for the 15-minute range.
Yeah. Let's work through that because I think that's
So then you would have your base point here, and then what came and tested it would be this one here. And then it's hard close. So since this is hard close on a small time frame, that could also show failure like it did at the top of the hourly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but in that instance, I think almost leaning towards the hourly is more important.
Yeah,
because
but I'm saying, for example, now that you've hard closed this, then the next step would have been, it held it on that bigger time frame, so you are correct in that sense, yeah.
But
so the bigger time frames held it.
Now, could we try and create that as a float, that hold level that we need to hold? What would we have to do to create that as a floating level? We'd have to break that highest, that 15 wick in the middle, to at kind of like 3 o'clock.
Sorry, which one are you talking about? Sorry.
Yeah, that one, and trying to create a range trend off of that too. It has to become a float first, but by the time you do that, I think you've broken kind of the 15s at the top, and potentially it's kind of too late there anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like you're almost developing floating levels on smaller time frames, breaking that to attack the hourly range trend that you've created off the floating level, and like you're quickly losing the smaller time frames, kind of cycling down to attack the kind of final moments that you can on the hourly range trend, and then when that happens, you lose it.
I think you should draw the range here on the 15, Harrison. So I think it's kind of about 130 or like 145 it starts, and you've got kind of like just the start of that. I think it's kind of the backside of that. So like the bottom of there, yeah. Keep going.
Okay, so I'm back.
Like there to the top. You would have your 15
so why wouldn't
range.
it be this one?
Because that's still. Oh yeah. Oh, you're right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah.
So now, like, now the question is, I mean, we can find these floats on smaller time frames, but how, like, what's the importance of them? How do we use them when looking at the attack of a larger time frame range trend? You know, because it's really obvious that we can just mark these holds on smaller time frames, but how are we using the information of what it's doing to kind of signify that it's trying to break that hourly?
I can answer that. This is why we work time frame down, because your next piece is going to superset the smaller pieces, right? Like if your 15-minute example here, you have a 15-minute hold level. That hold level is being tested right now. No, on the other side.
Well, this one.
Yeah, that's being
Okay.
tested
Yeah.
already. Like that's already tested right here.
So then there's nothing to hold you down really on the
So
15.
the next test would be this bottom side, but then I guess that's being tested as well from here.
Yeah, you could mark that. You could mark that. It would be your kind of your like micro floats on the bottom, because you did break like a very interior component ladder point. But how much relevance I'd use on this, I would look at what's happening lower time frame first now. But I can say that your work is kind of done here. I would go lower time frame at this point. Is your work done on this time frame? You've got an origin on top, so the 15-minute possible origin level, it does look like it's an origin level now. There's that kind of separation of candles there, so you've got an origin here on the top. I'm assuming there's an origin on the bottom, kind of before your range trend exists. I'm assuming that, yep, right there.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there's some kind of origin there, but there's nothing else to really mark here on the 15. So yeah, I wouldn't mark it yet though. I wouldn't, because you know what, you don't know if it's there, and you just want to kind of work like, oh, is my work done here? Yes or no?
Okay.
Yep, it's done.
Yeah.
So time frame down.
Now we go to a 5. And
what else do you have? Work inside your range, and what do you have?
Yeah, kind of the same story. A lot of the 5 minutes have been tested. Kind of have that final 5 minute up top has not been. But on the same note, you've also tested the 15 that 5 is inside of.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I'm looking at Harrison's screen. He has marked an origin on the bottom. So you've got that.
Yeah.
So you've got a breakout point on the bottom. What else do you have, Harrison?
Let's have a look.
You've got a 5-minute origin there as well, kind of in where you are now.
Yep. Yep, exactly right there.
So that's setting up for a breakout point to go up further.
So that could, if it breaks out this one, it could go straight to the 15. Or I guess.
And if it breaks that, you know, now your question is, is your next level kind of above or below the range? So is it going to hit the level and pull back below the range, or is it going to break above it? Right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to hit that origin, or it's unlikely to be stopped by that 5-minute inverse, is it, at the top? Because, like Jesse said, the 15's tested, and that's just a combination of the 15. But I guess, no, you can still go in there and test that.
Yeah, that's untested, so.
Yeah, at this point, I would probably combo level it right to the origin, just because it's so close.
Yeah.
You're $25 away. Like, I just would rather see the origin get tested.
Like, okay.
Find the one.
But you can leave it there for sure, because that's where it needs to hard close, right?
Okay.
And I would mark the body of it, not the wick.
Okay.
Because I'd want to know where the hard close exists in this scenario, not the test of the level I don't really care about, because I know it can test higher, because it's not 10 out of 10. So if this origin would be 10 in this moment, which it's also not, but if that origin at 630 was your 10, then I really don't care if it tests the wick of 140. I just care if it hard closes at 140.
So we'd look for the break of this origin on the top, test that origin at the top, then we'd go back to the higher time frame and see what's been developed there. There might be sort of a 15-minute hold that's developed.
So what was the original question of doing this? What was the original question?
What could support the move up?
So what has to keep making this thing move up? So ask yourself that same question now, your original question. So what has to happen next for this move to break up?
The origin, right?
Yeah.
So breaking this 5 minute, do you guys agree on that? That green one that pick the base point so we know which one you're talking about, Harrison, for us.
This one.
Do you guys agree that this is the next thing that has to happen in this move?
To move back up to test the top, yes.
And remember, the original question is, what does this thing have to do to keep moving up, right? So the next thing, Rob, do you agree with this, or do you have something else?
No, I agree.
Yep, you guys are right. So walk candle by candle through this and see what happens. Does it ever break this 5 minute origin? Because if this 1 hour is going to move through this trade, it has to break this in order to keep moving up. We don't have any hour to test on the top. We don't have an hourly origin. We don't have an hourly float. We don't have any hourly level to test on the top. So we're in a scenario where this must continue to move up. So this is where you're getting your deviation from. Remember, deviation, now going back to deviation, don't go any more candles yet, Harrison. Deviation is a question of, it's a bridge to open your understanding of the larger things going on. Bring yourself back to the very first start of this. You had a 5 minute origin that was tested on the top. So we know even larger than our 1 hour float, we are saying we're breaking down, because whatever broke us up in the move is also going to break us down. We tested that, confirming that we're still moving down. Interior to that, so go to that for me, Harrison. So let's you follow what I'm saying. So
Okay.
Go to what I just talked about.
Okay. So from back here.
Yep, exactly. So that 5 minute.
So this 5 minutes, yeah.
Yep, that 5 minute supersedes everything. So this tests telling us that the overarching piece of the move is going to break down, right? You test the 5 minute that breaks you up is also what you're testing to hold the move down. After that, we tested the 5 minute origin on the bottom side and created an hourly float level. So the hourly float level now must continue to hold in order to break above that 5 minute that we tested, right? So you're just following the trail of the larger events trickling down. Always why we work time frame forward and moments in time forward. So we've funneled away everything else, every other possibility. We funneled away, right? Like we're not marking levels that don't matter. We're not just going into this information overload. We're just simply following. It's like being in a sewer, right? And there's 20 different passages you can take. You just need to take the right one. And we're just trying to take the right one consecutively, right? Like we're trying to follow the trail of logic that exists. So go back to your 5 minute time frame now. We know we have to break this origin level. So start walking through the move. All right, your interior range trend is perfect. Yep, keep going.
And we want to make sure the hourly
Good,
kind of hard
stop.
closes that there.
So go to your hourly candle now. There's not really any more work to be done here. Go to your 15. I definitely noticed something right off the bat. What are you guys seeing right now? There's one thing that I want to see. Everybody has one shot at this. We'll start with Jude. What do you see? What's the most important thing to pick out here?
Most important thing about this move down.
What broke this move down? What would have been the perfect short entry?
I mean,
Jesse?
it would have been that 15 at the start, and it's laddering from 15s down from here. So taking the initial untested 15.
Nope. Jesse?
I'm thinking somewhere in the lines of retest. You're closing 15 minutes outside of that hourly trend.
Not a retest. Nope. Harrison?
Could it be because you've now broken the ladder of the range? So then you would then short it's like so on the time frame of the 15, it's broke the hourly range. So the next short could be the 15-minute inverse to then break the range down.
Close, but not quite. Rob?
Give me a second.
I think you were onto something by saying breaking the bottom there, Harrison.
Yeah.
Where's your floating level here?
Floating level is now.
It's right here.
Let's check Rob's screen.
This is the floating level because it broke the ladder points as
Your screen just loaded for me. Sorry, show me again.
the ladder point. So if this is the range for the 15, or it's here, for instance, either here or here, I'm not quite sure which one. If it broke this ladder point, then it would be targeting, actually, is this the floating level here?
Yep.
No.
Bingo. Perfect. It targets 1 15-minute level higher, but exactly. It's that. So I'm going to go back to Harrison's screen now. So it creates a floating level, and it holds its floating level. So when you start refusing to hard close that 15 back, so you can delete everything else here. Harrison, you can delete your red line up top.
This one. This
The
one.
Yep.
I'm deleting everything.
Yep, delete that one too. The green one.
Yep.
So now mark your 15-minute floating hold.
So the floating hold would be here.
Well, this is actually a little deeper. Rob had the floating level correctly.
So did he have it on the backside?
Nope, he had the level forward.
This one, yeah, because that's the candle before.
And you just use the body of a float.
Okay, yeah.
So, and then since it didn't hard close over that is kind of your indicator that
just went a little deeper in the move, just to the next 15. What should we do at this point now? What would be the next thing that we have to do? I'm not talking about where to go in the charts. I'm talking about what would we do next as in control of these charts.
Look for the target.
Nope.
are you talking from like a trade perspective? Like if you wanted to enter,
Just from a chart perspective. No. What would be the very next button you'd click on your screen?
Hourly.
Yeah.
What was that, Jude?
Hourly.
Yep. Hourly. Just make sure there's nothing here because we always want to start highest time frame down. Nothing here. Okay, perfect. Go back to the last screen, the 15 again. So why did it test this float? Like what happened here? Why this floating level? Because you guys are missing one last final piece. The 15-minute that you have here. What are we missing about this? There's something that is on the screen that hasn't been said yet.
Break the trend.
No.
Is it because it's the piece that's protecting the origin that was kind of created?
Nope.
Was it the origin that was created down here?
Nope.
But it attacked that because it wicked down through the range and kind of created broke the moment it was created off that was controlling it.
Follow the trail. How would we follow this trail? Follow the trail is what you guys need to be thinking.
It broke another ladder point, which is beneath that one, which created another 15-minute floating.
That's part of it, but not what I'm looking for.
It didn't close the top. It didn't get over the ladder point to create a floating level on the bottom distribution side.
You're close.
Are we just trailing 15s and that's the next 15 yet to be?
You have your float point 15. You're all very close, and Jesse's getting close too. You have this one is the float point 15. It goes above it to target the 15 above, right? So mark that one there for me, Harrison. What would be the next 15 it targets if it can't hard close?
The bottom one.
The one that we have marked on our screen. It's making a trail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So where you guys might have said this is a reverse in the past, now you know why that hits in short so perfectly. Never
Okay.
hard closes the floating level, just like on the bottom side of our chart, just like when we started this whole trail of information on the bottom side with the hourlies. Leading up to this moment, you never hard close the 15. You target something deeper, therefore creating this as your perfect short entry as a next test because it's still the floating level and it's the next 15. That's what's going to hold it down. So hit play now. Bye-bye.
Oh man.
Interior range broken, right down to its range trend.
Yeah, because it's
Taking
broken the
it.
hourly as well, so it's going to go to the next time frame up, which was the 4
Full
hour.
circle, right back to where we started. Follow the trail, right? On the hourly, follow the trail, creates an hourly float. No hourly information. Highest time frame down, 15-minute. Do we have information? Yes, this is where we need to look. Follow the trail, creates 15-minute levels, breaks the range, creates a 15-minute float. 15-minute float never hard closes, tests back in the above in the range somewhere. Greedier entry, goes back, reverses the 15 float, dumps.
Yeah,
Interior range
this
was
one.
broken. Everything is full circle, 100% accounted for from 0 to 100.
This has been so useful. I'm going to rewatch this like 5 times.
This is a pretty advanced lesson, but yep.
Yeah.
Why the yellow one on the bottom? Why the yellow trend?
Because it's broken the hourly, so the next thing that'll hold it up is the bigger time frame.
Nope.
No.
Remember when you guys did your event and you were shocked when I said I would wait till it hits a daily level below? Remember you guys were asking me a short and I was like, yeah, I would just wait for 8 to 10% here. Remember we just created that daily hold level on the top side?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we just created that daily hold level and you guys were trying to buy that kind of range that you have right now. And you were trying to hold up the entirety of the move. And I was like, yeah, I would just wait till it hits the bottom trend, the red one or the bottom hold level. So it's going to the bottom hold level because it creates the one on the top. So you mark your hold level there on the red hold level. The wick to find the combo. Go to your 4. Go to your 4-hour level.
Sorry. Should be that one.
Right at the front of the range. Yep. And what is this? What level is this that we have?
Floating.
Floating level, creating the range trend. So on this level test, you have your range trend.
So it wouldn't be that test there, it would be this one.
Nope. It tested the
so
level
it would
on
be
that
that one.
first candle right there on the 4-hour. Yep.
Yeah.
So now if you go to like a 5-minute candle or something, 5 or 15, it doesn't matter. Go look at your trend. Look how perfectly it was respected. In the current moment, like the current little thing.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm. Now do something else for me. This is something that Enigma showed me yesterday, which was cool. Go to where your red daily is.
This one.
Yeah, zoom into that region right there. Hit that 5-minute leg with a level.
This
As if it were to
this
create an origin. Keep going. Yep, right around there. A little bit forward.
This one. Or would be that one.
Yeah, the green one that you have. So go to the current part of the move where the test is. Did it hit that level?
Yeah, that was the 5-minute. Yeah.
That's a perfect hit, right? So now mark that. So that's your origin level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then go to your 5-minute time frame, zoom in. Does it ever hard close this? Nope.
Oh.
Telling you that your trend is going to hold up top because it targeted the 5-minute, confirmed it as an origin, and then you would have been looking for re-entry after that had tested and held because the origin candidation was already there, right? So that green line that you have, you can delete the red one. That's fine. That's what could have been the origin level off the 5-minute. It's the deepest part of that leg, can be a 5-minute. This confirms it's the 5-minute. Now you know if it holds one more 5-minute level, it's going to hold that trend as well. So zoom into that.
So if it holds this one.
Yep, mark your 5-minute level. As long as it holds above this, your move is good. And it does. It doesn't even go back to back test it. It just goes after something else. Probably created an origin if I'm assuming correctly. Looks like it doesn't create an origin, but possibly right there. Yeah. Yeah, and then look at how easy that move. Like go to a 15-minute time frame now or something. Look at how much this hold. Look at how well this holds over that floating range trend, right? Like that floating level range trend. It's literally picture perfect. So this is neat because back to your guys' stream and telling you, like, I would just hold out for the daily trend or the daily level, whichever gets hit and holds the move. You know, I hadn't gone this far down into the move before I did it yesterday with Enigma. However, you can still see a lot of this stuff without having to dissect it. That's just my experience coming through where, you know, you guys on your stream said, oh, you know, you'd go to the daily. I'd be like, yeah, just create daily up top. Easy below the bottom. But then this is all the stuff in between, right?
Yes. It's going to help so much, that just like clarity and what, you know, paralysis by analysis kind of internally we often get. So yeah, this is the key.
Yep. The floating levels and how they get created is a major key to what happens in moves.
Yeah, that's crazy because we've only had like, you know, one lesson and then on them and had them maybe like breadcrumb before, but understanding them now completely, like, wow. Obviously
Yep.
not completely yet, but you know, seeing the theory of them and why they're so important. Yeah, that's very eye-opening.
Like the key thing is, like, a lot of people, they pick a range, and you guys were doing this before, and so was Enigma, and I told you guys both the same thing. A lot of people will go into a move, start marking levels, and start trying to find where polarity exists. That's like it, just going back to what I had told both of you guys earlier, and to tell everybody else, you can never take a range and start putting polarity inside of a range, because you're going to end up with all this like misinformation, all this stuff that just, it's there, but it doesn't, sometimes it misses, sometimes it gets hit, and you're like, well, this time it was right. And then you start trying to understand why it's right and wrong, and then you get more misinformation. You never go and work on time frames, finding ranges. Rather, what you do is the exact process that we did today. Like, you always constantly move back up. Like, you notice how we never went to a 1-3 or 1 or a 3 in this, yet 1 and 3 minute could have been appropriate had there been a call to go for them. But we constantly just went 4, 1, 15. Okay, nothing left on the 4, 1, 15, 1, 15. Okay, nothing left on the 1, go 15. Okay, 15, 15. Nothing left on the 15. Go back to the 1, check the 1, nothing on the 1. Okay, go start again from the 4, 1, 15. Okay, we never actually really went to any time frames lower. Then we went to a 5 minute because, like, okay, there's nothing really 4, 1, 15. We found our information on the 1 hour. We found the floating level. We created the range trend. So we already know what has to hold the move. There was no call to action to go to the 3 or the 1. The 3 and the 1 can give you final polarity points, but we never, like, not once in this whole thing, and doing this move 0 to 100 picture perfect, not once did we ever check the 3 or the 1. So that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize until I just said it. We constantly went for 4, 1, 15, 4, 1, 15, did a bunch of work on all these time frames, and then constantly went back up. There were very small points where we went to the 5 to define what the final polarity was. And when we defined it was the 5, there was no need to go to the 1 or the 3. As soon as we saw that it was a 5 minute, there was simply no need. If the 5 minute wasn't there, maybe we should have went to the 3 or the 1, but there was just no need. So you always have to let the move tell you what's happening so you understand the right trail to follow, instead of looking at a range and picking the most polarized moments. So yeah, like, imagine having this level of accuracy without ever going to a 1 or a 3, right? There was no call for it here, which should really strike with a lot of people right now, because that's something nobody realized, that we didn't do that. We didn't do any 3s or 1s, which is, you know, quite astounding to get this accuracy without it.
Yeah, that was definitely a massive leak for us. Like the amount of times we would just go combo and find like a 1 or a 3 that was like the most
level.
Yeah, just crazy.
Mm-hmm. And it can be a 1 or a 3 for sure if it makes sense. And that's why we let the move show us where polarity is, and not just start trying to go and put polarity in ranges and say this is the range, it's the deepest one, means it's the deepest level, the deepest point, right? So yeah, always let your move guide you, not you forcing it in. Yeah.
So important.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
That's great.
Probably a crazy lesson for a lot of people here, but you know, for you guys especially, breakthrough, because it's your example. So yeah.
100%. Thank you so much.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely, guys.
For sure. Thank you.
Yep, for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks for volunteering too, by the way.
Appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah. Thanks for putting us through the blender.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going back in mentorship chat now. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that. Bit of a deeper lesson for sure. That was